Hello, I'm Andrea Dixon, and I'm the Executive Director of the Center for Professional Selling at Baylor University. Give you a little bit of background on Baylor and what we do here. Baylor was actually the first university in the higher education space in the US to put a stake in the ground as it relates to sales education. They started their work here and began the center in 1985. And was one of the first schools to offer a major in professional selling. So a very bold move for a dean in the middle of the 80s to take a step into this landscape. I joined Baylor in 2009, and we shifted what we were doing here from a major to a competency-based program. So our students both have their major coursework, but we also have requirements that students must complete outside of their coursework, 4 internal sales competitions. We do 2 Top Gun trainings, a number of different programmatic elements that are required of them in order to be a part of the program. We guarantee placement in paid internships for their junior year, and we guarantee placements prior to graduation. We're the only program at Baylor that has a guarantee, so we've actually been viewed all the way up through the Office of General Counsel and the President's Office and the Provost to make sure that we understand the risk we're putting them under. But we have a process, a development process, we have an engaged set of partners, we have a fabulous faculty team, and we do a good job making sure that we get the right students who are actually prepared for the platform of learning, education, and training that's ahead of them. And so we deliver on that promise.
So one of the things that you mentioned there was that you basically have guaranteed internships and job offers. Is there anything else that's unique about your sales program?
Probably a unique element that would be considered as you look at our program and what might be done at other schools is we're in a private university setting. So it's a selective setting for the students coming into Baylor. Then it's actually a very selective school. The business school is one of the largest elements in the university that gets applications, and it's a selective program into the business school. And then we run a selective major on top of that. So we're running a program that is designed to build those HPEs, those high performance employees for an organization. We're not building an organization where they're going to come in here and hire 200 students who've taken a single sales class. So there's a spectrum of activities that universities are involved with. And so our partners know that they're coming in for a deep quality play, not a large quantity play.
Awesome. So how do you feel that your program has grown over the past few years, given that you were an initial founder?
Sure. So the program, the university founded the major in 1985. When I came in 2009, just to give you a little bit of the stats, it was almost like having a scratch operation. We had 8 students in the major, and they had an average GPA of 2.7. And so I was told I'd have to do a little rebuilding. I actually asked for the numbers several times before I came in, and I thought there'd be like 30 to 50 students in the program. So we had our work cut out for us. But it also, like in a scratch sales operation, you've got some foundation, you have some structure, but as a leader, you have the opportunity to really reset the direction. And that's what we did. We looked at what were the qualities that business to business, high professional salespeople had, and what did we need to do to build those? Initially, I had to build it in the programmatic element because I came in, I was the younger faculty member of the faculty that were already here on staff. And anyone knows the hierarchy in the university setting, you're not going to tell someone else how to teach their class. So I couldn't change what was being done in the coursework. So we built out those assets initially in the programmatic elements, and then we're able to work that into the coursework over time. Now I'm the old person on the team, and all of the faculty that came in after me have bought into the competency model that we have, and we see how it delivers students really on a consistent basis. Even a student, I'll use as an example, we had a student a few years ago who came in, very tall, commanding presence, but the young man had a very strong challenge with stuttering. And he said, if I could come into this program and I could learn how to have good conversations individually and in group settings and do it without stuttering, I will have won. And it was such a fun point to watch all of us cheer him on as he did. We do a senior talk that they do in front of a room of 300 people. And that young man did a talk on the metamorphosis from being a caterpillar to a butterfly in the midst of this program. And for a 6'2" man talking about becoming a butterfly, it was quite compelling.
It's awesome. How many students do you actually have in your program now?
We have 100 now with an average GPA of 3.62. So we're actually one of the most selective majors. The only major that's more selective than ours in the business school is our honors program.
Okay. How many, because you mentioned competitions, how many competitions do you actually host at your school each year?
So we host 4 internal competitions. We don't host an external competition, but we host an internal competition that focuses on business development. That's our Baylor business development competition that involves pre-call plans, voicemails, and emails. That takes place in the first week of classes every year. We host an ethics competition in November, which is a team of 4 students. And they have to deal with an ethical dilemma. They get the case on a Wednesday night and they have to present live to judges on Friday. We do a face-to-face competition that is a 20-minute role play in January, and that revolves around some type of complicated business-to-business sales encounter. And then in March, we have a video-based competition that's focused specifically on issues that relate to value. So it's called our Baylor Business Value Analysis Competition. And those value cases can be where your company's requiring you to take a price increase and deliver it to your customers. You have actually, you have a customer that you were supposed to be delivering the microchips for their July manufacturing run for their Christmas product. Only your microchips are stuck in Taiwan. And so you have to actually renegotiate what they're going to actually pay for delivery, because if they're going to make their manufacturing timetable, you're going to have to actually do a different delivery method than what you had actually bid on initially. So those types of things, and the student in that competition is learning how to deliver a challenging value message in a video packet between 1 to 3 minutes. So we have them doing business development, dealing with ethics in a case team setting, face-to-face role play, and then a short video packet. And I'm just pleased to share, we started that video competition in 2016. And so as a result, when COVID hit, our students were already used to doing something with video. So they pivoted more quickly to being able to do the kind of video exchanges than even some of our corporate partners folks did.
And speaking of corporate partners, do they actually participate as providing some of the role plays, or is that all done with your faculty?
So our corporate partners are involved in a number of different ways. So we do, for example, the week before classes start, during the month of August, we do what we call our Top Gun Training Week. There we have about 150 representatives of our corporate partner companies that are here on campus. It's a 5-day event. We have a student showcase event where they're in a showcase room for an hour, and there'll be 5 students in there giving their showcases and then also exchanging Q&A. Then the next hour, they're with another group of 5 students. So all throughout that day, they're meeting students in small group settings. There might be 13 to 15 executives in that room. And then the students are actually having to deal with being hammered with questions. We begin the week that way so that, first of all, the executives get to see all of the students and they don't get to see all of them, but they get to see a number of the students over the course of that day. But the students then also get the sense of the flavor of the executives and their personalities as it happens through that Q&A process. We do our Top Golf, which is a casual networking event that week, so that the executives get to meet with the students over the course of 3.5 hours across all the bays and have those kinds of exchanges. We do a training event where the students will hear a panel of our partners on a topic. So one panel might be how you use storytelling in the interview. Then they'll have 2 individual coaching sessions with 2 different executives after that panel. Then we come back together and we'll do the next panel talking about what are some of the qualities of top performers that they're looking for as they're engaging with the marketplace. And then they'll go out and have 2 coaching sessions about what are the qualities they think they have. What are the qualities that they're able to articulate through the way they share their examples and their work experience and other assets from their resume. So that day is a series of networking breakfast, panel, 2 individual coaching sessions. So there's 3 panels. The students have 6 individual coaching sessions, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So in the course of that day, the executives are meeting and greeting a lot of the students. They have photo maps of all the students showing who they are, where they are in their program and so forth. And the students have photo maps of the executives. Who are they? What companies are they with and whatnot? So that allows for a lot of facilitated networking that way. We also, in that Top Gun week, we've stacked a lot of activity that a lot of sales programs do over the course of the year. We're a small team, and I'm all about building systems, and I can go into event mode and do event mode for a week and feel much better about it than having to do an event every week. And so we bring all of our partners on campus that week, and they have a very deep dive into the program. The students do a deep dive into the companies. Each company does their partner presentation that week. So we aren't doing the partner presentation the night before interviews. I think that sends the wrong message to students. You can prep for an interview or prep for a sales call the night before or in the cab on the way to the appointment. That's not what we want to be teaching here. So we've moved even all of those preparatory introductory meetings where the companies talk about what's ahead for them for the year, what they're looking for, who they're recruiting and whatnot. That's all happening in Top Gun week as well. So we do an etiquette luncheon that week. We do sessions, faculty do some sessions that week for our students. So, and when you think about how our executives engage, that week is big. We try, because we're in Waco, we try to make it very easy in terms of how and where they have to come back and forth to come to us, because we're a secondary airline market. You have to fly into Dallas, and then it's an hour and a half to 2 hours from Dallas. So we have to be attentive to people's time and travel expense that way. So they come on campus for Top Gun. All of those competitions, the business development competition, the face-to-face competition, and the value analysis, those 3 competitions are all judged virtually. So they don't have to come to campus to be judged. The business development, the student is working off of a case. The value analysis, they're working off of a case and delivering it to a camera. So there's no need to role play it with an executive. Our face-to-face competition, that is role playing with executives, and those spots are reserved for our top partners. And then in the ethics competition, our top 3 levels of partners are here on campus for that day, and they're the ones that are both judging and managing the Q&A with the students through it. So the competitions are part of the way our partners get involved with students, but having a dedicated week that they know is going to happen in August before recruiting season comes is part of that process. Another couple of ways that we both help our students and our partners be prepared for fall is our partners actually help us identify 4 questions every spring for a virtual interview. All of our students videotape that virtual interview in April. Our partners then have all summer to watch the virtual interviews to get a sense of who the various students are, who they might want to put on a short list, and so forth. At the same time, our students get a partner notebook that is basically who are the partners this year, and it's a workbook where they fill in a lot of information. We provide them the list of who are the alumni that are at the company and so forth. So they're both doing homework over the summer to prepare. So when they come to Top Gun, they've already begun to know who one another is. They get to know one another more deeply. When we get to the interview process, those interviews are much more comfortable for our students because they're interviewing with people that they've been researching, they've been coached by, they've had these different encounters. So we think that process puts the students at ease in the interview process so that they show better in terms of being able to just be comfortable and authentic in who they are.
Very good, impressive. So what would you see, especially since you were one of the founders of USCA, what are the advantages of being a member of USCA? Oh,
USCA, when I came in the fall of 2009, I inherited a milk crate that had a couple of manila file folders in it. I had no records of who were on the board, who had been board members. There were no records. There was limited history. And the people that had been here were kind of tired and not really even interested in like even sitting down and brainstorming and talking about things. So I had to figure a lot of things out again, almost like I was starting from scratch. And I could not have done that without the USCA. I walked into the first USCA meeting, and the opportunity to listen to what people had to say, to ask questions, to understand, okay, that program is 10 years ahead of me. And even though Baylor had been around, they had not systematized to the same level that other schools had. And that was what I saw as everything took too much work because nothing was systematized. And I firmly believe in doing everything in systems, because I don't want to have to think every day, all day. That's just not the way my brain wants to roll. I want to have some fun and shut off. And so to do that, I want to work in spurts, get it done, and then move on to something else. And the USCA gave me the ability to do that, because I would come into a meeting and I would learn what people had tried and what worked and what didn't with the way they were working with their corporate partners, or what worked and what didn't as they talked about their advanced sales class. And so going in and hearing through both the informal conversations, but also USCA quickly moved to a more systematic approach with having people report out on the best practices, where the data was collected across the USCA, and then someone came up to the front of the room and delivered that in a more formal research presentation, allowed you to get a lot more data more quickly. And so I would say that the time spend going in first as a newbie in this space, because I've been leading a grad program, an MS marketing program, had nothing to do with sales. I came out of sales, my research was in sales, but I wasn't doing anything in the academic environment that relates to both educating, developing, and building anything in the sales space prior to coming to Baylor. And so the USCA equipped me with the knowledge, equipped me with a network of contacts, gave me the respite to hear something and recognize, okay, I'm not the only one experiencing this. That gives you a sense of rest when you know you're not alone in whatever that small battle might be that you're facing at your university. And has continued to sustain my interest in, okay, what can I do next? How can I take what I'm doing? What are other people learning? How are we using technology? We're working as a team of people this week where people are doing a deep dive in Salesforce. Well, what are they doing? How are they doing it? What am I doing? You know, is what I'm doing is 1.0. I need to go to 2.0. What does that look like? Those all come from USCA conversations. Just an invaluable place to learn and grow.
And then following up on that, since what has Baylor and you given back to USCA?
Well, the opportunity to give back is so important, and it's so relevant when you have a member-driven organization like the USCA. And so we don't have a staff. The USCA is run really through the creativity and the energy of its members. And so when I first stepped up to get involved, one of the first places I got involved in the USCA was really in the Marcom area. We had kind of weak assets as it related to the way we marketed ourselves, website, collateral material, and so forth. And so that was an area I had built some capability at Baylor. And that was something I knew I could bring to the USCA. So that was one of the first places that we stepped in as we redid the website. We did the GSSI's website at the same time. We were looking for ways that we could help with some of what we had learned here. And then that job morphed into also being the secretary. So it was doing Marcom and being the secretary for the board. And it was through that process that I've pushed for us to be more systematic. That to me is so important, that an organization has meeting agenda, has meetings, has meeting minutes, and all of those things, that those things happen on a consistent basis. And minutes, while it's a small way to contribute, gosh, that's such an important role on the board, to have someone in that secretary role that makes sure the meeting minutes happen and they get posted and that people are aware of what's happened. So I participated early on in that Marcom role, and then in the secretary role, and then came back to the board in the president-elect role, serving under Jimmy Peltier when he was president. And Jimmy has great creativity and great energy, and we were able to build some strong momentum through his 2 years as president, and then I followed him. And interestingly, through a pandemic where we were able to engage our constituents, I think, very effectively in having webinars, really interactive webinars, where the content was coming from all of our constituents. And in the midst of COVID, we were all desperate for connection and desperate for just a way to have our imaginations be reignited when everything else on the scientific world was sort of beating us down with the virus and whatnot. So I'm really proud of the board that was operating through that period, because of the way that the USCA still felt like we were connected and moving, even though we didn't get to meet together. So we've made some interesting changes during the time I've been involved that I think are really important to me. And one of those changes is really that more systematic approach to best practices that started actually in 2010. We hosted the USCA meeting at Baylor, and we put together that framework that we still use today, where we have 3 best practices sessions in the fall meeting, so that we're sharing on 3 different topics. So when you come to that fall meeting for 2.5 days, you're coming away with several to-dos in 3 different areas that impact your role. I think that's critical. We also have looked at how we can continue to build momentum through the organization. So, I mean, when I first started, the USCA was really looking at just a member, right? And now we went through the process of identifying full members and associate members and a process for bringing them along. But then during the time that Jimmy and I worked together, we actually built out a reaccreditation process, because it was important to our members to ensure that someone may have joined the USCA 15 years ago, but are they still operating a sales program that meets the level of quality that is indicative of the USCA brand? And that reaccreditation process was an important part of ensuring the continuity of the organization and the value of the brand of the organization moving forward. So that's just a couple of things that I would share in the midst of what we've tried to do over time and what all of us need to do to work together to continue to make USCA the asset that it is for all of us and the impactor that it is really on. So one other place that I think we've made some very strong contributions is the challenge when someone is in a university setting and wants to work in this space. Sometimes the challenge is not external, the challenge is internal. It's getting departments to align, it's getting a dean to align. And there's been momentum in this space, but not all the deans are aware of it. So we actually built out a strategy, and this was some of the work that I did in as the president-elect. We built out a strategy that was focused on impacting deans and creating stronger advocates among AACSB deans who don't have a center in their schools. And one of the tools of that process was the annual report, so that we would send a physical copy of an annual report to every AACSB dean. So we built out the list, we built out the process for data collection, we built out the annual report itself, and that has been going to those USCA deans now this will be the 5th year. But a component of that that's important, and Marianne Collins was my partner in this process, is we built out the Dean's Award, right? So the USCA bestows an award on an outstanding USCA dean. Well, that's one of our deans. So we have to nominate. Those of you in the USCA have to nominate your dean if he or she has been that kind of advocate for you. But now that person is showcased in our annual report and our social media and press releases, and these other AACSB deans see that, okay, so someone is doing something and getting credit for it, and maybe this is a space I can work in. So that's been our goal, is to create some momentum across the academy by making deans aware of how important this space is for building out the future capabilities of their business school.
Excellent. And I just ask, is there anything else that you'd like to communicate about your program or the USCA? You've done a great job so far.
Yeah, I would say the big thing about the USCA is it's filled with a wonderful group of people, and they're not all alike. That's what I like about them, is you've got people with a broad set of interests. You've got people who are hardcore researchers who have strong interests, and they're there at the table and they're asking questions because of their curiosity and deep interest in how we can advance the field through research. We have people in the USCA who have very, very strong interest in how we're shaping practice, and they're asking questions and bringing to the table ways in which what we do in the USCA can help business and influence the way business thinks about what they're doing. We have people in the USCA who are hardcore, top of the line teachers who really, really care about teaching and pedagogy. And we have people who do all of those things, but we have people who really excel in each of those areas. So every time I come to a meeting, it almost doesn't matter where I am on which piece of it, I'm gonna pick up something that impacts some way that I contribute to the academy, either through my research, through my teaching, through the way I'm trying to make a difference in terms of helping industry. And I can do it in a way that I couldn't do alone. And so the power of the USCA means that I have the potential for some kind of impact that's bigger than what I could do at an individual level. And it's far more sustaining than what I could do as an individual faculty member. So I just appreciate knowing the power in the network and the fact that I can play a small role to help make an impact.